Hey everybody, it's LavenderTowne, and today I'm trying out some TikTok art hacks. So this is the first one. I believe it had some copyrighted music, so I'm gonna have to mute it, but basically it's just saying that you can use these circles in this strange formation and it'll make it easier to draw the eyes and the nose. It also showed them lining up the eyebrows along the top part of the upper circles, which was interesting as well. This TikTok was by Chocobo Egg. So I, of course, started off the exact same way. You just copy paste the circles and then erase the bottom one for the nose section. Right off the bat, I do think that there's a slight problem with these guidelines because the artist uses them for the eyebrows as well, and I do think they make for very small eyebrows. Typically your eyebrows are quite a bit longer than the edges of your eye, and I also think that it makes them too low and too close to the eye. Even someone with not a lot of eyelid space, like someone with very hooded eyes, they're still going to have quite a bit of space between the top of their open eye and their eyebrow usually. So the guideline might be better to have a space above the eyes to be a bit more helpful for someone who's a total beginner. Because yeah, as you can see as I'm drawing them in, those eyebrows are hilariously small and close to the eyes. I also accidentally drew in the other eye. I was supposed to just copy paste it because it is a symmetrical image, but I fixed that later. And as for the nose, I initially didn't really understand how the guideline was helping. I realized that they're just using it as a sort of placement for the nostril, but with my drawing, I felt like if I really did it that low, it would actually look quite a bit too low. It would look very distant from the eyes. So I feel like for an absolute beginner who doesn't have like a lot of intuition about where to place these facial features, it might lead them astray a little bit. I am going to be rating all of these hacks based on how fun they are to do and how helpful they were personally for me. So hopefully that's a little bit helpful to you guys too, and you can get a sense of which ones you want to try out. I used to do noses this way all the time, by the way, where you kind of like scribble a lot and then you smudge them out and then you carve out the bridge with the eraser. It's actually pretty quick and easy and it doesn't look too bad, so definitely not a bad method at all. I do think the usefulness of this hack is a little limited for people because it's not connected at all to like a face shape or any sort of facial structure. I don't know where someone would go from here, so I did dock it for helpfulness a bit, but it was pretty fun, so I gave it pretty high score for that.
How to add more life to your art, part 1. Something I always struggle with is I draw sketches that are full of life and depth, but then when I draw the line art, it just feels flat for some reason. But then I watched a video from my favorite artist of literally all time. She draws her line art on the same layer as her sketch, and she literally erases it as she goes and just goes over it with the darker color. And she doesn't care about making the lines exactly perfect either. And look at how beautiful her art is. So I made 2 drawings. In the first one, I did what I always do, and I drew the sketch and then the line art on a separate layer. And in the second one, I drew with a lighter color first and then went over it with a darker brown. And bro, there is a difference. I don't know if you can tell, but I don't know. My theory is that it gets you out of your head and it gets you more into the flow of art. Anyways, let me know what you think and like for a part 2.
So initially I had pretty high hopes about this hack because I do think that line art tends to suck the life out of stuff if you're not really careful with it and really expressive with it. However, I've always been someone who's really loved doing line art, and I feel like I've found a lot of ways around it other than this. So I was very excited to try it out and see if this would help me basically keep the life of my sketches. But overall, I found this to be very time consuming with not as much benefit as I was kind of hoping for. I generally like to use the fill bucket tool, and using this method is just not really possible, at least on Procreate, which doesn't have the best ever sort of fine-tuning of the fill. So I did have to paint in all the colors by hand because there were all these little scrubby sketch marks still left, and I did feel like I was spending a lot of time erasing around my sketch. I think this would work better if your character wasn't quite so high contrast and you were using darker colors, because it would cover up some of those lines a little bit better. But yeah, for my style, I feel like this just did not work at all. I bet that this works a lot more for people who do different art styles than this. So So I don't want to like trash it completely, and it clearly worked for the artist that was referenced in the TikTok. So I definitely don't think it's a bad technique, but man, if you're used to doing really hard line art and you have a workflow that relies heavily on selection tools and fill tools, this just makes it such a headache and adds so much more time to finish like a relatively simple drawing. Like this drawing should not have taken me nearly as long as it did, and I don't feel like it looks particularly more fluid. Maybe I was just doing it wrong, but yeah, it just it really didn't work for me. I kind of hated it, and I feel like if anything it almost made my work more stiff. The main way that I actually do my line art is only using my sketch as a very loose guide, so I still get some of the spontaneity of my sketch and sort of the drawing it the first time when I'm doing my line art normally. And I think that this actually caused me to like adhere more to the sketch because I didn't want to have to erase as much of the sketch lines underneath, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to just turn the layer off. So yeah, it's really interesting because I do feel like this is one of those things that could be so beneficial to other artists, but I just overwhelmingly was not compatible with this whole technique. And it kind of bums me out because again, I really love the fluidity and the posing of the art that the TikToker showed from that person's YouTube channel. So yeah, it was not fun or helpful for me, but I still think you guys should try it just in case it might work for you.
Hello everyone, today I wanted to share how I turned this into this. You're going to start by doing a floor plan, that is a flat shape that represents the shape of your room. On the floor plan you add these boxes that represent furniture. And then, when you're happy with the shape, it's time to pull the flat image into perspective. Mine looked like this. When you pull it into perspective, it's time to build up the furniture and the walls of your room, still making sure that I keep that original shape I created. Walls help as a guide for the furniture later on. I usually separate the layers of the different furnitures by using different colors, that's just easier on the eye. This whole sketching process took me approximately 10 minutes, but it would take me significantly longer had I not used this technique.
So this hack is one that I think I have seen before. I don't remember where, but it reminded me that I had never actually tried it out. And it was one of those things I'd always kind of been curious about because this floor plan style, it really makes it easier to actually like plan out where everything is in the room, but I'd never really found a way to make these floor plans translate into a more three-dimensional, nicer illustration, and I am not good at interiors. It was something I struggled with at art school, it's something I struggle with when I'm drawing my comic, it's just basically the bane of my existence, and it's one of the reasons why I really like to put my characters in places that are organic, like a forest, or you can put lots of different trees down. Something about all the perspective and all the hard lines just really stresses me out and I don't enjoy it. So yeah, I was dying to try this out because I really wanted to see if there's something that can make this whole process a little easier for me. So initially I was a little concerned. I couldn't figure out how to distort it in a way that would look good because that part of my brain just like my spatial reasoning is just not very good, which is unfortunate for an artist. So I was having trouble even visualizing what this was going to look like as I stretched it with the distort tools, but eventually I got it. And this is supposed to be Planchette's bedroom, my webcomic character, and I had a reference picture of some previous backgrounds I'd drawn for her, so I knew where everything was supposed to go. And I am just gonna say it right now, like spoiler alert, this hack is amazing. It slaps. I love it. It is so good. It made it so much easier to put everything where it belongs, and all of the perspective is like already kind of there, you know. You don't have to constantly worry about like drawing out guidelines from 2 different points or 3 different points. It's just like all of that obnoxious mathy BS. You just don't have to worry about it. It's like it's already all stretched out for you. Everything, you know, is kind of placed where it should be. And yeah, it made things so much easier. I could not believe what a difference it made. I know the TikToker said that it took them 10 minutes to finish their sketch, which honestly I was like, that's shocking, there's no way. But then I did this and it took me about 10 minutes as well to get to this point, you know, the sketching point at least. And to get it all inked, like all the way done, it only took me 50 minutes, like less than an hour. And let me just tell you, with how much I struggle with interiors, that is shockingly faster than I've ever done an interior before, especially one that's like, you know, actually populated with a good amount of furniture and everything. I highly recommend, if interiors are something that you struggle with, and especially if you want to do webcomics or something like this, definitely try this technique out. It is so useful. Yeah, I just can't say enough good things about it. One thing it didn't totally help with is stairs. I'm not sure if the perspective is right on those stairs. I kind of just drew them down from the sort of like weird hatched stairs that I had on the floor plan. I think that might be a little too complicated for this method, but it still helped out quite a bit and really helped me visualize where they should go. So I'm thinking about going back and looking at my old like worksheets and textbooks from art school to see if I can refresh my perspective so that it can be a little better. But yeah, in a pinch, this hack really helps a lot. And even with something I was quite worried about is the fact that like her room has curved walls, because it's like her whole house is shaped like a skull, so it's rounded on the walls. It actually didn't matter. Like, it still worked just fine, and I was able to, with pretty minimal adjustments, use the hack for curved walls rather than straight ones. It didn't really make a significant difference, so that was really good. And I generally just like did this pretty quick, the inking part, so it's not perfect everywhere. Like, it's not the finest inking that I've ever done, but honestly, I think if you dropped some characters into this scene, it really would be perfectly passable and look like quite a nice and detailed background for them, while also like keeping the focus on the characters in the scene. So I think I'm going to actually try to do that and finish this illustration off at a later date, because I'm so happy with it, which is a real shock to me, because this whole video, you know, I'm just kind of playing with these hacks. I wasn't planning on actually making any of these things a finished illustration, so that really is a testament to how much this hack worked for me personally. As for the fun factor of it, I didn't really know what to put it as, because I do dislike drawing like props and furniture and backgrounds so very much, but I ended up giving it a pretty decent score for fun, just because of how much more fun it made the process than it would have been without the hack, if that makes sense. So with this TikTok, I couldn't tell if it was copyrighted music or not, so I'm just muting it just in case. But basically the whole concept here is that if you have trouble drawing feet, or particularly shoes, that you draw the sole first, and just like you do with the perspective in the previous hack, you'd use the distort tools to sort of adjust and play around with it until it looks right to you, which basically just allows you to, instead of like repeatedly drawing the same shape over and over and being like, this doesn't look quite right, it allows you to sort of like freeformly look at how that shape is going to look. So again, because shoes are not something I'm super great at either, I would consider it a weak point, not on the same level as say interiors, but a weak point nonetheless. I was very excited about this hack as well. So I did it just the way that it was done in the TikTok. I made a sole, and then I just started messing with it. I tried to draw a girl with her ankles at two like dramatically different sort of positions, and I realized pretty quickly I was going to have to sort of do the underside of the sole, like, because her feet weren't in a way that you would actually see the bottom of her foot. So I had to again try to like flip it around in my head, which worked actually pretty well, I feel like. At first my shoe looked jank as usual, because I don't really like notice a lot of good details about shoes, so I really had to go into the mind palace and remember all of the pieces that have to be there to make it look convincing. Honestly, it would have been much quicker to use a reference, but anyway, I added some laces and a pretty thick sole to the thing, a tongue on the top, and it actually started to look like a fairly decent shoe. So then it was time to do it on the other side, where hopefully we will actually see the bottom of her foot, or the underside of her shoe. I kept messing with it and kept messing with it, and it kept looking wrong. Her ankle looked like it was gonna snap, but eventually I got it to a point where I felt like I could kind of build the shoe around it. I kind of just repeated the process, and now that I had sort of a blueprint of how the shoe should look, it was a lot easier to draw on the other side. But as I was drawing it, I was realizing that while the sole looked right when I first placed it, now it looks twisted a little bit too far, so I ended up just erasing that initial shape and essentially turning her foot more over onto its side, which kind of negates the whole point of the exercise. So that did make me think that maybe the hack wasn't helping me as much as it might have been. I don't know if it actually made a huge difference, which is unfortunate, because at first I really thought that it was helping me a lot with sort of like placing her feet where they're supposed to be, but I realized that's not actually what I have trouble with. Usually it's the details of the shoe itself and not really the foot placement. But overall I felt like it was medium helpful, and it was pretty fun. I actually liked I liked twisting it around and really trying to figure out the placement of her foot. I think it did help a little bit. It sped up the process for sure. So there you have it, a sort of potpourri of various different TikTok hacks. Overall, I was pretty impressed, and I found most of them pretty fun as well, so I definitely recommend you try out any of these that look like they might be helpful to you in your art practice. Thank you so much to the TikTok creators who made all of these and are trying to help other artists, because that's super cool, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much to my wonderful patrons, including Herbie Envy, Treku, Rodrigo, Neurocherry, Kali Halsey, Kubo, Moo Milk, Alana the Artist, Rylan Parker, Rylan, Kaderia, Something Super, Deadly Nightshade Art, Maria Vasquez, Astral Fox Art, Middle Z, Lily Allure, The Expressive Poker Face, Morrissey Axolotl, Chris Straws, Kai Kieser, Tsubaki, Liliama Hammondtree, Meow Lavali, Angel File, Cutie Pie, Ruin Raincrow, Rainwater Pearls, Ice Cream Pal, Lion, Nora Cornelson, Cola, Yaboya C, JJ Jade, and of course, Lib 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 Lib.